Welcome again to Watching Rugby with Lee. This week we were going to do two games, but with what happened in the All Black South African game, I doubt that we're going to get through half an hour on just one game. So we'll just leave it at the All Blacks game, which, if anyone didn't see it, they lost by 2 points, with South Africa making as many 160 something tackles, I think I saw, and the All Blacks breaking 36 tackles and making 44. So they almost broke as many tackles as they had to make and still managed to lose. There's so many things that we can talk about this game. What was the first thing that you wanted to talk about?
Well, if you look at the way the All Blacks played in attack, they had sufficient ball, they had sufficient field position, but their attack was one-dimensional. It's easy for the South Africans to make that number of tackles if the ball carrier is running straight into you, especially close to the South African goal line. It was just bash, bash, bash the whole time. And while the camera didn't give a wide shot, there must have been overlaps on both sides of the ball wide out.
Yeah, I know he doesn't get the ball much, but the prop with the moustache, the New Zealand prop. When he made that really good break, and he had Willie LaRue in front of him. Willie LaRue nearly put his head in the sand, and he just ran straight into him. It's like, just because you're a prop or a lock doesn't mean you should have to take contact front on.
No, and I think this is where the big lock, Retallick, has made a change this year.
Yeah.
In previous years, he's ran straight in. This year, he's stepping and offloading. And if you look at the provincial competition in New Zealand, you'll see that the teams that are winning are those who are stepping and offloading. And the more they do that, the more the support players are being patient, ready to run onto the ball.
And if you make a step, if the player in support is of enough depth just straight behind you, they can adjust and go into the space so much easier. Because to make that step, you know exactly when the ball. If you go straight in, you sort of don't know which way you got to turn, and it's laziness, I think, if you don't step.
Yeah. Well, the easy solution to that problem when they go straight in is just to form a ruck.
Yeah.
And of course, the ruck slows things down and allows the defence to reset itself.
It was even. I like him as a runner and I like him as a wing. The left winger, really strong runner. What's his name again?
Ioane.
But ran out of bounds 3 times. And then scored the try and pumped his chest as if that was some great thing. You lost possession 3 times until you did that one good thing. And what is good at taking on someone? It was almost indicative of the game that the All Blacks wanted to slam dunk, and they wanted to do things with, I don't know, bravado or style or mano a mano type of thing, rather than win.
Yeah. But I think also the number of the All Blacks are good in transition when they turn the ball over, but also the other night the South Africans showed they're equally as good. Because some of the turnovers they got were from absolutely poor play by the All Blacks.
I mean, there used to be that awful joke about Maori backs, but I think it could be said about Barretts.
Yeah.
I think you can only put one Barrett in the team at a time.
Yeah, well, that try that his brother gave away...
It wasn't even. It wasn't on. It wasn't an unlucky bounce. It was just mind-blowingly dumb.
You wonder whether there's a psychological aspect to that where New Zealand has been so successful that this risk and reward becomes a situation in which we don't mind giving away a few points because we're going to gain more than them.
Yeah,
I just find it's strange, really.
It's infuriating because you know that's the mentality that's lost us at least 3 World Cups.
And, all right, we're far enough away from the next World Cup to solve it, but we just hope there is the attitude there that does solve it, that we play more percentage rugby. But we're playing, because, especially from rucks, because the ruck is so narrow, the defence is standing 2 or 3 metres from you if you don't give yourself depth. And it's not hard to tackle someone who's that close.
Yeah. And it's, it's like those teams that in the past have played conservatively and then tried to play open in the last 10 minutes of the game. It's not in your DNA to do it. Yeah. And if it's not built into your DNA in the interim years between the World Cups, that you're ruthless. You don't do stupid mistakes. If we end up winning by 70, you win by 70, but you don't make it a fair contest or just give points away. It's hard to change that mentality just when a World Cup comes in, especially during pool play, when you have those games which are the worst games to play because they mean you don't have to play a disciplined style of rugby.
Yeah, and if we played a disciplined style, and especially if we played with enough depth to run onto the passes to threaten the defence, because space gives you an opportunity to beat a man, to step, then we've got a good style of rugby. But standing flat or just accepting the tackle, or the other point I would make is that I'm sure that our halfbacks can pass the ball a lot further than the first or second receiver who's 4 metres away to clear the opposition defence and get into some space with numbers way wide out.
The lack of imagination or the lack of leadership from a captain or a halfback to have successive goes at the ball where you give it to 2 props standing flat 5 metres from you who just go into a turtle shell. And what's the best outcome there?
Yeah,
the best outcome is maybe quick ruck ball, which you never get. You're not trying to break through. You're not trying to create space. You're not going to draw any players to you. Maybe you get quick ruck ball, but probably not.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Does it just waste time? I do not understand that attrition World War I style of play, coupled with over the top reckless play at the other end. It's like super tight there, and then
there are 2 ways of winning a game of rugby. One is to score points. The other is to stop the opposition from scoring points.
Yeah,
and we might be able to score points, but we needn't take the risks we're taking if, in fact, we prevent them from scoring points.
Yeah.
I don't mind,
What did you think of the team itself and, say, selection?
Well, I didn't know Barrett was going to play as badly as he did. And so long as he's not kicking goals and he plays like that, it's a bit of a liability.
Yeah.
But I see in the newspaper that they're asking people to be tolerant of him.
Well, I mean, like how like I think that he's not going to change. And I don't think he's a bad player. He's a player of a certain style, but it's the selector's problem for putting him in that position and then not having a plan B.
Yeah. Well, a plan B could easily be. I've always been a great favourite of having a 10 who can kick with 1 foot and a 12 who can kick with the other. Because if you pass the ball on to the likes of, let's say, Mackenzie or Barrett, if you pass them on to a guy who can kick with his left or right foot at number 12 and you're wide, you will have drawn the wings up and you can get to space and give yourself field position.
But you think
at present, it's all up to box kicks from 9, from Smith, and
doesn't it? Because those plays aren't percentage plays. There was wind in Wellington, so it wasn't a good way to gain ground. Doesn't it sort of show that the team is getting run by personalities rather than by percentages or by, no, this is what we should do? Because Aaron Smith is a strong character, and people are right to defer to him because he's done so much good stuff with his kicking. And when he takes on that thing, there's no one really there to say, well, we got the wind. Like, why are we putting a box kick in? Let's get it down there. It's very hard to kick back. Still wipers. Let's get some ground.
Yeah. Well, the other thing to remember too is that in attack, the players should be reacting to the opposition, not playing to a set plan. Yeah. And one of the keys that I think Ben Smith showed is that if you do start deep, and all right, he was on the wing, but he was actually entering the line off the shoulder of the ball carrier at pace. And this can be done using both him and Barrett, or a player from closer to the source of possession doubling round.
He always plays great. I mean, he's very consistent. This was one of with the selection. Why was there an injury? There wasn't an injury because Goodhue came on later. Why was Crotty put in after Leonard Brown and Goodhue played so well, so consistently?
Yeah.
In the centres, then you can have Barrett and Hawani. Like, you can't have that many players in a back line that you're not really sure what they're going to do. Both Barretts, you're not sure what they're going to do. Hawani you're not sure. Like, he may score 3 fantastic tries, but he's like, he's more likely to do the bravado thing. Like, the fact that he ran out of touch 3 times, it's crazy.
Yeah. And maybe that's almost, given the number of times it occurred, has to be practiced with the guy who's passing them the ball wearing equal responsibility for passing him to him, rather than him chopping back in field and linking up with people coming across.
But also, like, when he did do it, there was no shit. Why did I do that? It was okay. This is fine. We're going to win. Doesn't matter. And
I think that risk and reward is so much part of this team. They're willing to tolerate substantial risks to get a limited reward.
Do you think it goes back to Super 12? The lack of any real threat of getting dropped or someone else is coming through in those Super 12 teams. Like, we've seen players have abysmal games and keep on getting selected.
Well, if you go to the Mitre 10 Cup, the unusual thing there is that they're all taking risks, but it's coming off.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's coming off largely through support play of what we've mentioned, with depth, running onto the ball, making the ball available, giving the support players every encouragement to be there, because I'm going to pop the ball up to you and you're on your way.
And what did you think of the substitutions? Could you have predicted those substitutions last Wednesday?
Last Wednesday?
Well, they do the same substitutions no matter who they're playing, what time, what the score is, what the conditions are. I don't know why they do that.
So what you're saying is there seems to be no tactical aspect to substitutions. It's almost having a heart monitor on them, and if they look as though they're running out of gas and you want them next week, you bring them off.
Pretty much. And it was almost like the case of, when you're doing a under 7s team and everyone needs to get a game.
Yeah.
And I think it really backfired with Aaron Smith because DeFap. I think I'm getting it right.
Faf Toy.
Faf Toy was playing great and was getting in his craw. And, when you're in a battle like that so personally, which halfbacks is probably one of, the only ones that are on their opposite number as much, it's hard to get into the rhythm of that as a player coming on. And it took a while for the Wellington halfback to get into that rhythm, and there was a few plays that he was too slow. He made mistakes because DeToy was really in his craw. And I think I don't think Aaron Smith is a unfit guy. I don't think he wouldn't have lasted the 90 minutes.
No,
80 minutes.
80 minutes, but and he gets there and he clears the ball very well.
Yeah. So I didn't. So that was like. That was a substitution that they probably made before the game, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, what you're saying is there's got to be either a technical reason for substitution, putting injuries and that to one side, because that's obvious the reason too.
Yeah, like I thought LaRue was a liability. I would play to him constantly.
Yeah,
he's helter-skelter. And it came off for him from this week, but what else did I have?
I think one of the things that the All Blacks haven't adjusted to in South Africa is if you go back many years to Habana and Rousseau, they defended outside in, and the space they're coming in from is the space you've got to play to. There is so much opportunity for them coming in and tackling the ball carrier as he receives the ball from his blind side. And we haven't adjusted to that.
Yeah.
We used to try the high overhead pass, and both Rousseau and Habana scored intercept tries. And if you look at the one the other night with the South African wing that came on with the headgear who scored that intercept try.
Yeah.
Actually, if the guy... I'm not sure who it was in our team who had the ball, but because he came up so flat, there was actually a gap behind him that he could run into instead of making the pass.
Oh, yeah, it's just a little grubber kick behind, isn't it?
Oh, a grubber kick or a carry. Yeah.
Or Aussie doubles. You pass back to the guy who passed you the ball behind you.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think South Africa too... they're a bit one-dimensional as well with their hit-ups.
Well, how many points were gifted to them? Let's say conservatively 14.
Yeah.
With the two intercept try and the throw-in, and that's conservative. That's 14 points. Like they didn't play great.
No, they played consistently and they didn't let up. They didn't fold.
They tackled, but with a lot of the attack would had to be very. They were running straight at them.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And I'll tell you what, if you're a team where the opposition's getting success from running straight at you, you're folded. You're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they didn't, and therefore it's going to be interesting to see in the replay, which is. In South Africa, it could be very interesting. Yeah.
Well, should it be very interesting? Don't you think the mistakes that need to be amended are very simple?
Yeah, I think the mistakes are very simple, but we've got to work out more options in attack. You don't need that many, but you just got to have options that react to the behaviour of the defence and put them into play. We're playing a very physical game, and physical's about the only term you can give it.
Yeah.
It's not that thoughtful a game.
Well, you look at the areas that were lacking. Kickoffs, goal kicking, back play, any sort of pattern within 10 metres of the goal line.
Oh, especially wide out.
Yeah. And that's it. Those are things. You look at those things. Kickoffs. How how can you be that bad at kickoffs?
Yeah, I know. The shallow ones that don't make the 10-metre line. And then when you suddenly feel that you're incapable of making a recoverable kickoff, you just boot the ball to the opposition and the game continues. And at international level, the aim of a kickoff has got to be more than just restarting play.
Now, it's tough for Beauden Barrett because he's got so much speed, so much ability. I don't think his position's first five.
Well, I agree. I think you could play him 12 because that gives you the kicking option at 12.
I would play him wing or 15.
Yeah.
And 15 at a push, because I don't know if you can put someone that erratic at a decision-making position. Because I know he thinks instinctually, which is fine when everything's going great.
Everything's instinctive, yeah. And my selection criteria for selecting backs is the closer you are to the forwards, the more reliable you've got to be.
Right. To me, it's the Canterbury first five.
Yeah.
Then Leonard Brown and Goodshoe. I don't see I've seen the ball go out lows, and with the speed of the outside backs, let them run. Give them ball, get them space, get them doing what they're good at doing. Don't get them doing what they're not good at doing, making decisions and kicking.
And also, the closer you're doing that to the opposition goal line, the more the opposition pay for even a slight defensive error, because it's not that far to turn it into points.
Well, you know, like the defence gets a little bit more compressed the closer you get to the goal line, just because the fullback can come up, but not so much. Not as much as, say, like basketball or American football or something like that. But
there's another point too, that when they tried those wipers kicks to the wing from first five, when Barrett tried kicking it, the kicks aren't accurate. And that wide out, where you have a one-on-one, if the opposition recover the ball from there, he goes down the field and scores a try at the other end because there's no cover. If the kick is inaccurate, you know.
I thought the South African captain in the first half was staying around the our midfield backs, offside the entire time, I think, but shut that down. But you know, when there's someone coming up so fast, that's always a place where you can attack around.
Oh, exactly. If you give yourself another 5 metres, the distance between him and you, let's say he is offside, but let's say you go back and give yourself space. Yeah. If he charges up and you slip it to a player off your shoulder, you've gone clean through.
Yeah. Having said that, I thought it was a really well refereed game. I think that offside line is you actually heard talking to the touch judges and go, they're looking a bit tight. And I don't think the touch judges want to be in the ear of the referee all the time, which is just making it a sort of a mockery, because the referees are taking up a body position where they don't have a look at the open side defence, because they're looking at and that's what they've been taught, and that's what they're doing everything right. It's just...
Yeah, to be fair to them, there's so much going on after the tackle is completed.
Yeah, you can't look away.
You can't have close vision and wide vision at the same time.
There needs to be 2 refs on the ground.
On
one side of each ruck, so you can see the line. And you know, we were offside all the time too. Everyone's offside. No one's at the hindmost foot of a ruck. They're sort of like in the centre, and you just end up playing that way.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's kind of the same for both teams, but it would be nice to have more of a distance.
Yeah, that's right.
And
there's just a lady's just come in to clean the room.
Oh, right. Yeah. And what did you think of the lack of drop kick?
Oh, yeah.
I think half of New Zealand was screaming at the TV.
I remember a similar occasion with McAllister at Cardiff Arms Park.
Oh, really?
Against the French,
Oh.
which we lost the quarter-final of the World Cup.
Oh.
And we didn't start playing for the drop kick early enough. He had a couple of cracks and missed with both, and I think the third one missed as well.
It was crazy, wasn't it? Because everyone was saying it, and the fact that it wasn't as if they lost track of time or didn't think about it. I think the commentators a couple of times said, "Oh, Mackenzie and Barrett, they're both in position to kick for it." So was it Perenara not wanting to do it, or would have Aaron Smith passed it back? I don't know. I don't know if Barrett had lost so much confidence in his kicking by that stage. Yeah. I don't know, but I can't imagine Mackenzie would have. He seems like a player who's always got a bunch of confidence.
Yeah, he would have a crack. But I think what it has done is made this competition much more interesting.
Yeah, I only caught the last 2 minutes of the Argentinian game because I didn't bother because I thought I knew we'd be talking about this pretty extensively. Yep. But did you watch any of it?
Yeah, I watched.
Was it as awful as they said it was? They seem to think it was a pretty awful game.
No, I think both teams played pretty well. I think what they're basing it all on.
Oh, they're basing it just off Australia. Well, I suppose it's Australian commentators. Maybe they're just saying it was awful just because they lost.
Yeah, and that's what they're judging it by. For example, Australia used the ball to beat the man.
Yeah.
They're good at drawing the man and putting someone into space.
Yeah.
The biggest irony of it was their wing, who's married to the netballer.
Israel.
Palau scored a try that was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Everything was going to the right. He sidestepped about 5 times going to the left and went in for the try.
Yeah.
The irony of it was that in the last minute of the game, he manufactured a move on the outside.
And didn't pass it.
It and got hit and lost the ball.
Yeah. He didn't pass it. Foley was right outside.
Use the overlap.
Yeah, right? Foley was right outside him.
Oh.
But Mackenzie did the same thing. Right. Near the end of the All Black game, Mackenzie did the same thing. Or it's just there was 3 players over inside him, I think, and he didn't pass. And
it's almost as if with Mackenzie, he doesn't have vision. He doesn't see the overlap.
Yeah. It's sort of weird with a lot of his passes that he gets praised with his skip passes. I think he just froze and hope. Yeah. And sometimes a lot of the times they go to ground, and then sometimes they hit someone and he looks amazing. Yeah.
The funny thing about passes that go to ground, the defence often rushes into the ball. And if the attack can get the ball on the ground and throw it away from where the defence is coming, suddenly you got it. And Ioane's second try was like that.
Yeah. Do you think the forwards getting annoyed?
Oh, I would like to hear the team talk and what the reaction is by the forwards because they bust their guts.
Okay, so it was 1 intercept and 1 foolish throw-in. So that's 14 points and 4 missed conversions, right?
Yeah.
4. 22 points. 22 points that you can pretty much lay on the backs.
Yeah.
And say how at international level, some of those kicks that he missed were sitters.
Yeah.
And then he made one from...
Oh.
And that was kind of indicative of the whole game, just All Blacks making things more difficult for themselves.
You just wonder how Grant Fox, who's a selector, handles that situation.
Yeah, knowing how much practice
himself.
Yeah, he would go, look, you guys, I put this much practice in when was he a lawyer?
No, he's been in commerce.
Yeah, but this is when I wasn't getting paid. This is how much practice I did. You could go to Eden Park and see little sandcastles all over the ground.
Yeah.
And for someone who to be missing as badly as that, I know they hit the post, but two hit the post, two missed completely, and then you don't do the kickoffs properly. What else are you doing with your time?
Yeah. And I think that if we don't solve this problem now, we're going to be anxious moving into the World Cup, because we've seen how things can backfire.
Do you reckon it causes confusion in the players that do play consistently? Like, for Goodhue as a player, I would be confused. He played 2 tests where he did absolutely nothing wrong, was the model of consistency on a defence and attack, didn't give away the ball, didn't throw stupid passes. And then players who do the opposite get in.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not belittling Test rugby, but based on their selections, if you do find any reason for their change of selection, is it to expose all these players to different pressure situations and analyse them to the extent that, when you select the team for the World Cup, you're avoiding the situations that have emerged now? I don't know.
So you think there could be like a long-term master plan?
Well, there's got to be.
Yeah.
Because if this is the long-term master plan, there's vulnerability wrapped up in it.
Man. Do you think that puts a lot of pressures on the players that you think can handle the pressure? And when the shit hits the fan, you put them in and everything should be golden.
Well, you can't overlook the fact that Test rugby is very physical, and after each game, you're completely buggered. But, when you look at Sam Cane, he's just like Richie. He dies for the cause every day. Severe, when he goes in, he's slightly too high, but he gives it everything. And like the forwards, and Reed died for the cause the other night.
And who's the other guy? Slater?
Which one?
Slater?
What position?
Oh, the one of the guys who's growing the terrible mullet along with Retallick.
Squires.
Squire.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you never see their face because they're always head down, like running into something like that. Yeah. It must get infuriating, and it's interesting because like the two guys who are there are Waikato guys, and they played a very structured style of play when they played, and very kick, step, like that. It must be infuriating for them.
Well, Foster engineered many great wins for Waikato.
Yeah,
he really did.
Yeah, and
also for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and Scott McLeod was consistent and stepped and passed great. You're wondering if they're not listening, or what's going on.
Yeah, I hope.
But having said that, it really is only 2 or 3 players.
Yeah, it is.
And
if those players learn to be consistent, we stop them from scoring. We play field position rugby and apply huge pressure. Yeah. So that we get over the try line, playing bread and butter rugby.
Yeah. No. I mean, the Barretts can be used. They just have to be used properly. Yeah. They have to be put in positions to succeed rather than in positions to fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we could go on for another half an hour, but we'll probably leave it for that. Next week, we got more tests.
Yeah, we've got Australia playing South Africa in Port Elizabeth.
Oof.
And then we've got All Blacks playing Argentina in Argentina, maybe Buenos Aires.
I think we'll have to watch both of them. And it's Checker still. I haven't looked at any news about Checker, but is Checker still the coach?
Well, it's funny. I'm in Melbourne. I looked at the newspaper today. Yeah. And I was about 8 pages from the back page where this big sports events are reported.
Yeah.
8 pages in is one single column about rugby union.
Wow. It's the grand final. The Aussie Rules is about to happen. So
there have been people queuing for the semi-finals, which are this weekend.
Yeah.
There's been people queuing since about 8 o'clock last night.
I never get when Australians say semi-final, because I'm like, semi-finals are over. There's 3 more games left. What? I don't know when. They seem to have many semi-finals going on.
Yeah, they call them minor championships or something. yeah. But rugby, AFL just dominates here. I think in one of the games last night, they had 90,000 people there.
Yeah. Isn't there a Melbourne team in the league still alive?
No, it's the Melbourne Storm that has Billy Slater in it.
Yeah.
And Cameron Smith.
Yeah, but they're not getting any play. Melbourne Storm.
They're
about page 6.
2 pages in. They're getting plenty. But I'll tell you what, it's on the television too.
Yeah.
The advertising with kids playing AFL is just extraordinary. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it looks like shit, but when it's played well, it's always pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a funny game. It's the
most
like disorganised thing you've ever seen at times.
Well, you could say that about rugby too.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Any game played properly is nice to watch. Anyway, all right. Well, see you next week. Thanks for watching Rugby with Lee.
Okay. Okay.